Well, good morning. Here we are back up in the hills, and today I'm just outside of Newtonmore and heading for a group of Munros that I've had my eye on for a little while. Forecast is pretty unsettled, but it's dry at the moment, although it's fairly cold. It was -4 in the car on the way up, so we'll just get on the move and we'll just see what happens. Cheers. So the route today is not the most straightforward, but hopefully it shouldn't be too complicated. I've got to head up to the head of this valley up here and then kind of go over that gap sort of there. There's a bridge to cross, and then into the next sort of valley, and then from there the first Munro of the day should be obvious. So like I say, not the most straightforward, but hopefully nothing too complex either. Well, made it over into this sort of second valley now, and the views have completely opened up. Look at this. Absolutely stunning. Clear blue sky. I think that's actually the first Munro of the day up there, but we'll figure it out. We'll just keep going for now. One advantage of it being so cold is that the ground's actually pretty solid and pretty frozen. I think this can get quite boggy, this walk, but today it's fairly easy going so far in this terrain, and it's probably going to get a bit more frozen further up top. So yeah, ideal conditions so far, and just making the most of it really. Of course, one of the disadvantages of these wintry conditions, and it is very much winter even though it's April, is that there's no sign of any path. The snow's completely covered it up. So having to sort of bash my way through this heather and snow has been fairly relentless for the last hour or so. But I'm getting through it. I think I'm through the worst of it now. And the route up is, I think, either up this gap here or possibly up there onto the ridge and around, and the summit I think is up there. I have read of people going up this way, but that just looked a little bit dicey in these conditions, and with being on my own as well, I don't want to take any risks. So I'm just going to play it safe and keep on going this way. Well, first Munro of the day is finally in sight up there. A massive cornice there I'm going to steer well clear of. It's taken a fair old while to get up here. I ended up taking a really shallow line up onto this ridge and came out much further along than I intended to, so I've lost quite a lot of time just playing it safe. The more direct route would have been to come up just over that crest there, but I didn't want to risk it. So as a result, I'm a bit behind time, but luckily there's still plenty of daylight left in the day. I'm going to get to that first Munro, take in the views, and have a look around, and then get on with the next two. Well, that's the summit of Carn Dearg, and that is the hardest I've had to work for a Munro summit in a long while. Partly my own making, I will admit, but I'm definitely not hill fit at the moment. But it's totally worth it. I'll show you the views in a second. Just white snow and hills in every direction. It's absolutely breathtaking. I'm not very good at identifying hills and naming them, but hopefully you'll appreciate them for what they are, and maybe some of you will be able to recognize some hills. So I'll do that just now, and then I will just get on the way. I do actually have my drone with me, and I was thinking it'd be a good spot for some footage here, but I'm quite keen to keep moving because, like I say, I've fallen behind schedule just with my little detour over there earlier on. So gonna take this in for a couple of minutes and then get on my way. Well, the next little bit of this hike is along this fairly featureless plateau, which could be pretty tricky navigation wise, even in these bright conditions. But as I was saying earlier, I've got a couple of things to help me out. One of them is the Peak Finder app on my phone, which I'm just going to cut to that just now. And what I've done is I've saved the next 2 summits onto this Carn Sgulain and A'Chailleach. There they are over there. So that just lets me know exactly where it is I'm headed for without any shadow of a doubt, which is peace of mind, especially when you're out on your own. And the second thing is this line of rusty fence posts, which actually goes all the way to the 2nd summit and a little bit of the way to the 3rd summit as well. So even if the app failed, even if the mist closed in, which it's forecast to later on, then I know I can just follow these and I'll be okay. So I'm going to keep going just now. I think the path deviates a little bit here and there, but I'm just going to try and keep these fence posts in my sight. I'm going to put the camera away and try and make up for some lost time, and just keep enjoying these absolutely incredible conditions. Honestly, the views up here are just breathtaking. I need to just not stop for too long. It is just incredible. Anyway, I'm going to press on, catch up with you soon. Cheers. Carn Sgulain, finally! My word, that was some slog over that plateau. Gee whiz, I'm going to rest for a minute. Honestly, if it wasn't for those fence posts, that'd be much harder. Also, a very handy set of footprints. I met a couple of people doing the route in reverse, doing it anti-clockwise, and they left a trail of handy footprints for me. They really blazed the trail because it was knee-deep in places with that snow. This is not even that remarkable of a summit. I mean, there's another cairn over there, but I think this is the true summit. But there's not really much to keep me here. You can just about see Carn Dearg. I'll show you that in a second. It feels like ages ago. And I can see what I think is A'Chailleach, the last one, which is a bit closer. Yeah, big old day this. Pretty serious conditions underfoot. Weather's held so far. It is meant to turn, so I'm not going to hang around too long, but yeah, this is as far out as this route goes. From here on in, it will be heading back towards the car, which will be very welcome when I reach there. So for now, quick drink, quick bite to eat, and I'll show you the other peaks, and then I'll get on the move. Can't actually see Carn Dearg very clearly. I think that's it over there. Looks like miles away, to be fair. And that's probably because it is. And here's the fence post that's kept me right this whole way. And then A'Chailleach, I think, is that one over there, a bit closer. Fairly nasty looking cornice there, which I'm going to steer well clear of. And then it'll be a case of dropping down the far side of that and picking up the path back to the car park. Wind's really picking up. I don't know how clearly that's coming through, but it's really a lot more windy than it was earlier on. So yeah, like I said, not a day for hanging around. That's the first summit way over there, Carn Dearg, and all the way across that plateau with the help of those fence posts. Carn Sgulain up there, and then just more to go. Well, that's A'Chailleach for you. Third and final stop on this Monadhliath round. It's funny, it felt like such a wilderness over there on that plateau, especially middle of absolutely nowhere. And yet, just come up on here and you can literally just see Newtonmore down there. So I don't think it's going to take too long to get back to the car at all. And the weather has still held off, so if I get moving now, then maybe I'll get away with it. Let's see. Well, finally below the snow line for the first time in about 7 hours. It's been a big old day, but we're nearly at the end of it now. The path is pretty boggy. There is a little shelter hut over there, I don't know if you can see that in the background there, which I had thought of as an option if the weather was going to turn, just to get a bit of shelter there for a few minutes, but looking like it's going to hold. The sun's out again. Still pretty windy. It's dying down a little bit now that I'm off the summits. But yeah, the end is in sight. There's Newtonmore in the background and a car park down there somewhere. We'll be back before we know it. Well, back at the car at last. Don't think I've ever looked forward to a cup of tea quite as much as this one. And that was a big old day. Made slightly longer by my little detour on Carn Dearg, but I was just being perhaps overly cautious. If you can be overly cautious on the hills, I'm not sure. Better than being reckless, I guess. Anyway, I made it round, had some breathtaking views, absolutely stunning scenery with the snow, and a real sense of wilderness and isolation on that plateau, which was just amazing. And yeah, really challenging. Sometimes quite enjoy those challenging days when you have to work a bit harder to get at the Munros, because the trade-off is just that bit more rewarding. Anyway, I'm rambling now. I'm going to go home, sort through all this video footage, might make a video, sort through my photos, have a hot bath, dry out my boots, and see you again no doubt. Cheers.